Guys, welcome back to another episode of The Precipice of Delusion. I am your host, Julian Gavalanis. Thank you so much for being here. Jeez Louise, I appreciate y'all being in this community with me, this virtual space with me, being in your ears, being in your heart, being in your orbit. I am so grateful for the listenership that we are creating through having these conversations. I am having a really wonderful time. And man, gratitude is at an all-time high with this project for me. So again, thank y'all for being here. It really means a lot to me. And I hope this show is paying it forward in some capacity for you and making you feel, something connecting with these people that I'm having conversations with. Hopefully something is resonating. Hopefully things are making you feel less alone. And, if nothing else, it's making you smile and laugh and just kind of move through the day a little bit easier. That's all I hope for, and that's all that I can try and attempt to do. Guys, I've been sick hard for the last 3 days. Man, it knocked me out. I was bedridden, couldn't actually get out of bed. My sweet girlfriend Rachel was taking real good care of me. She made me chicken noodle soup and grilled cheesers. God, it was nice. She gave me washcloths on my head. I think I had the flu. It was gnarly. I've been sick before, and I have been in bed kind of feeling guilty about being in bed. Being I could probably get up and do something, but, I'm sick, so I'm just going to stay here in bed and watch some television and just binge and let loose and eat some popsicles and treat myself nice. But this last 3 days, I genuinely could not get out of bed. It was really upsetting and just painful, to be completely honest. But we made it through the thick of it. I am back up and alive, and I am doing my thing. And grateful for my health. And, hopefully that doesn't happen again for another year or so. Because, man, it was boring to be sleeping for 2.5 days straight. But I feel rested, I feel medicated, and I feel back in my groove. So, guys, we got a great guest on this episode for y'all today. His name is David Holmes. You've probably seen him in Mindhunter, in the wonderful classic hit High Fidelity, the show with Zoe Kravitz. He plays Zoe's best friend. He's in the new Penguin series. Penguin or Penguin? Rachel always makes fun of me about that. Penguin, the new Batman series that's not aired yet, but is going to be coming out soon. He's a killer actor. He's a really, really incredible dude. Has a lot of wonderful philosophies on, the craft of acting and the business and kind of just who he is as a person. He's got a really wonderful spirit, and I am really honored to know him. He's a fantastic presence and somebody that I really admire and kind of look up to through his mentality of how he kind of pushes himself through this world. We've just gotten to know each other and become friends over the last year. My buddy Nathan introduced me to him. We got to spend time at a bachelor party together, and it got a little wild. I will let you know. But he's a sweetheart. I love him to death, and he has a lot of wonderful insight for you guys. And so I'm excited for you to be introduced to him. Guys, just real quick, I am starting a Patreon page, or actually have already started it. If you like this show and want to help me build it out, help me leave my secondary job. I got to bartend on the weekends, and I got to stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning, Friday and Saturday night, just so that I can kind of supplement all of these creative things that I'm trying to do with my life. And I don't want to have to do that. And I'm going to keep doing it as long as I have to. I know that I have a privileged life and I get to do a lot of really cool things, but in the efforts to try and devote all of my time and energy to this thing and to all of my creative endeavors that I am putting my heart and soul into, I have started this Patreon page where you can go on and become a subscriber to it. You can get exclusive content. I'm going to be doing all sorts of things, from puppet shows to dance videos. I'm going to freestyle. I'm going to throw on some like monologues, acting monologues. I'm going to talk about how I made a movie, give you kind of like the how-to of that whole world. Maybe like a little Julian style masterclass of whatever that means to you. Talking about how I started a podcast. My girlfriend and I are going to be doing like 21 questions with me, where you get kind of the inside scoop of an inside the brain of Julian Gavilanis. It'll be really fun, and I'm open to suggestions, and whatever you guys want. You can come on and join for as little as $1 a month. It is very reasonable. There's tiers that will give you different kind of exclusivity perks, and I will be there to facilitate all that stuff with you throughout the process, and I will have all of you guys in my space supporting my art, and I will be able to make the studio. I'll be able to start having in-person interviews. We'll just level this whole show up, and it will be a really wonderful thing. So make sure you go check that out. It is at patreon.com/theprecipiceofdelusion. Again, it's patreon.com/theprecipiceofdelusion. Make sure you go check that out, guys. And without further ado, I will not keep you waiting longer. This is my guest, Mr. David Holmes. I think it's like, kind of like the catalyst of this whole show. It's just like a selfish attempt to try and understand how other people kind of like push their rock up the hill,
Yeah.
And like when it all feels like, is this ever gonna work? Is this ever gonna like actually feel like it's where it's supposed to feel? I don't know if the answer is yes. Like I think that's like something that comes from within, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm searching for it myself.
Yeah.
And I always have a hard time just like kind of battling my own self in this whole entire pursuit. And so, this whole concept kind of was spawned out of a desperate desire to like have conversations with people. These are the conversations I'd be having anyways with my creative friends, but just kind of like, what do you guys do? Like, what do you like? And it's not about like, hey, how successful have you been? It's like, how have you managed when you have like had these high highs and then you've dropped back down into like regular life, and like, what does that do to you? Where do you go from there?
I found that you just have to have a really good relationship with rejection, and that's like kind of where it starts and stops. If you don't have a good relationship with rejection, then this will eat you alive. This industry, it's built for that. You're built to kind of be rejected many, many, many times. It's not like being a doctor or lawyer. I mean, like, of course you're going to get rejected, I suppose, in those professions, but it's not the same. Like, our industry is built on the fact that there are hundreds of other people that look just like you and might be similarly talented that are going to get the role over you for reasons that are completely outside of your control. It could be hair color, eye color, that your height is wrong for the other person. I mean, you just have to kind of accept that it's not about you, and that you just have to kind of just keep moving forward. And if you can't start there, then you'll never be able to deal with even the bigger philosophical problems of having struggles in this career. You have to like start with that baseline acceptance of rejection. Like, because I thought about it.
Yeah.
Like, if I have the kind of career like I'd love, like you see on IMDb, like these older actors, like if I had 300 movies under my belt, by the time I'm whatever, I'll still have been rejected more times than I got a role. Even if I have, like, starting today, I make the rest of my life, I'm a career working actor, I'll still have been rejected more. And,
Hmm.
there's just something to that, I think.
Yeah. Do you think about quitting ever?
No, 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 no.
No.
Yeah, not at
Uh,
all.
what is it that, what is it? Is it like an obsession? Is it like like, what do you think? Like, is it like a mental thing? Like, what is it that like is so certain that like this is what it is outside of the validation of having like booked the jobs themselves? Because you have, and I'll go through and like I'll give context to who you are in like, so everybody knows, and you can talk about whatever you want as well in your career, but people will know who you are through like my introduction of you as well. Um, but like you have done a lot of things, but be like, if you pull all of that out, I guess you can't because it's part of your experience. But like, I guess just the simple question is just like, how are you so certain that this is like what you want to do forever? Like, what is it in you that drives you to knowing that?
Well, there's a lot of ways to answer that, but I guess the most basic one is I don't. There's nothing else I can do. Like, I'm kind of.
Mm.
I would be
Hmm.
terrified to try to figure out what else. I mean, look, I have a lot of interest in life, and I have a lot of things that I enjoy and hobbies and stuff. But as far as things that would give myself any kind of good living, they're not there. I mean, I don't have a college degree. I'd have to kind of start from the ground up. But the real answer is that it's what I'm really good at. Like, I'm
Yeah.
no, no I have my doubts and I have my things, of course, about how I feel about where I'm at this age and this, that, and the other. But I'm always reminded whenever I go back on a set or when I start working on something that I am. This is just what I'm best at. Um,
Hmm.
and so that kind of keeps me going. And I understand that anytime I don't get a certain role, or why am I not where other people are at a certain uh, mark of their career, it has nothing to do with my actual talent. And so I stay pretty strongly uh, moored by the fact that I'm supposed to be doing this. This is what I'm good at, and this is how I'm supposed to be spending my time.
Yeah. You seem like you have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you seem like you have a pretty healthy relationship with your own career and with your own pursuit in doing all of this. And it seems like you believe in yourself in a way that kind of like keeps you afloat in all of this and doesn't feel like you battle with like the imposter syndrome of it all. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I remember the first day on, like, this big show that I was doing. It was like the first leading role I had. I really thought, oh, it's gonna sneak up on me. Oh, it's gonna sneak up on me. This whole, maybe it'd be imposter syndrome or whatever. But at that point, I'd been acting in the city for 17, 18 years, and I just felt completely at home. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be here. Like, it never felt more right. Like, I'm like, no, no, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I wasn't nervous at all. I'm not saying I won't ever be nervous, and I think you need to have a little bit of nerves in you, certainly. But I didn't feel like, oh wow, look at me, how lucky I am to be here. I felt like this is about time, and this is like kind of where I'm supposed to be. And of course, there's an element of luck to it. But yeah, no, I've always just kind of had a healthy relationship with my own talent and where I was in that. Um,
Always. Like
Always,
since you started.
I think so. Look, there are times where I'm like, oh, I really need to get back to class, or I need to,
Hmm.
the the instrument's out of tune a bit, so I need to kind of work on, um, the craft. And I wish, oh, I should be doing more, scene study work. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm feeling like I'm lacking in that for sure. Um, but beyond that, no, I'm pretty. Like, it's everything but the talent. It's the things that get me down are just like, navigating the parts of the industry that I have no control over. Like, being great
Hmm.
for the role, but this other person has this big Netflix show, and so they're going to get the role. And then having to go, okay,
Yeah.
well, that makes sense. So what can I do? Or,
Hmm.
there's already another curly head in the thing, so they really can't have another.
Mm,
And then having to go, okay, well, I guess I can't really change my hair that way, so fine.
yeah.
It's all the little things that I have no control over that tend to kind of get me down a little bit because it's because I have no control over them. There's nothing I can do.
Mm, hmm. You've done a lot of things in your career. You've done a lot of really great work. I've had the privilege of watching you on some shows that I before knowing you and then getting to meet you and being like, this fucking guy kicks ass, man. This is the best. Your career uh, is enviable from where I'm standing, and uh, I always am fascinated by the fact that like actors are working at that level, but somehow still like there was an article written about some recognizable actor that had been like having a side job over at Trader Joe's after like some show finished, and it was like people walking up to him like, oh my god, like you're the guy from that thing, and he was just like, yeah, 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 and it
It was
was
the guy
just
from
it's
the
like,
Cosby Show, I think.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, of course, like people have to have work, but there's this common misperception I think with folks outside of the industry that like if you're on TV you are a made person, like that your life is set and
Yeah.
that you're rich and that you have it all together and that like life is wonderful. And I really want to kind of like set the record straight about like, look, it by no means is like you get paid nicely, you get treated well when you're on these sets and stuff. But the reality is when they're over, and you're an unemployed actor again.
Well, I think that's what
And
the strike really highlighted. The actor strike,
mm,
I think it highlighted a lot of things about that because a lot of they talked to a lot of actors that were on shows like Orange Is the New Black and
mhm,
shows that are in the more the streaming era, and people assume that maybe if you're halfway literate about the way the industry works, which not everyone needs to be or should be, but if you're halfway, you're like, oh well, Friends actors and Seinfeld actors, the Law and Order actors, they make a ton in residuals, and then they do, and people can make a kind of a living if you have a show like that on these old kind of legacy contracts. But shows like I've been on and you've been on, and shows like some of these actors that were interviewed, there is like almost nothing in residuals. So yeah, you get paid for what you got paid for then, but there's no like nothing on the back end.
right,
So that's where like it just, I think people are getting a little bit more understanding of it now that that's came to light.
yeah,
That's why you'll see people like myself. I still work in a bar. I still
mhm,
have a couple shifts at a bar, and that's fine. I mean, it's just what I have to do. Besides acting, that is the easiest way for me to make money. you know.
and you don't do you feel any type of way about that?
Um, no, not in the abstract. I mean, look, it's a job I enjoy, and it's relatively easy on me. Um, and I've always liked, I was bartending for years. Um,
Mhm,
but my feeling is, I mean, every time I get an audition, every time I get an opportunity, it's always in the back of my mind that this could be something that's pushing the bar further away, like pushing having to
mhm,
do bar work further away.
mhm.
So that's an equation every single time. There's even a remote possibility I'm about to get a job that has some decent money to it,
Yeah,
and so that's something that I'm not. I mean, and I've had times in my life when I did that show High Fidelity, I gave the bar the Vikings funeral. I was like, oh, I'm done bartending. Like what?
done for life. Yeah,
Kind of money, this, I'm sure we'll get a second seat. You kind of assume there's this track, and I was like, well, there's no reason for me to need to go back to the bars because hopefully I'll just continue on this kind of path. But it's an incredible lesson to learn that even when you think you have a sure thing or whatever, that it's never sure in this industry or in anything.
mm,
And
mhm,
so I kind of, after my savings started to come down, and then COVID kind of did a number on everybody, I was like, well, I gotta still make rent. So I
yeah,
went back to bartending, and my biggest fear was that I would see people and they would perhaps recognize me from the show, and it would feel awkward, or I'd feel really kind of diminished, or I don't know what I just felt like it was going to be really hard for me. And essentially, it happened every single shift. and
Mm.
my worst fears came true, and they didn't feel bad at all, at all. At not one point did it ever feel bad that someone was like, "Hey, aren't you the guy from that thing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm that guy," and they would go, "Oh, I loved your show. That was awesome. Thank you." And it
That's
always
cool.
felt really, really good. Um,
Yeah.
so even my worst fears, like I had this idea of what they would be and what they would do to me, and then it actually was the exact opposite. It made me feel really good. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, okay, thank you, thanks for watching my show, thanks for enjoying it.
Mm. That's
Um,
cool, man.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I think probably it's just in the anticipation of like what are they gonna think before they act, like before you had that experience, it was all just in your head about like I gotta swallow my pride, I'm gonna feel ashamed, I'm gonna have all of these like, psychological issues about what's going on here. But then when you actually faced the thing, it was like, this is totally fine. And I think that's probably true of a lot of things we do, whereby like when we aren't working and we're just like what am I gonna do? We're having these existential crises. It's like, I don't know, just go put your right foot forward and do something that you can or will or should or want to do,
yeah,
and you'll find that like it's actually not as bad as you think.
yeah,
Like maybe just, yeah, go back to that bar job. I've said it so many times, and my career is steps behind yours, and I still have felt many times like, uh, I'm done. I'm done here. I don't have to go back to the bar. I don't have to go do the same thing. We have the same. I do the same thing, um, and it is a killer gig, man. Like just to go and make a quick scratch like that and easy, like yeah, it's like it's.
and I'll
Go
say this
ahead.
before I forget, not that the person I'm about to mention had to go necessarily back to bar jobs, but I remember listening to this interview with Ethan Hawke, and he said that there were three times in his career that he was for sure that his career was over, like for sure.
Mm,
I think it was after the I can't remember one of those first movies he did. I don't think it was the what's the Robin Williams one where he stands up on the.
Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, I because I thought that
Yeah,
one did pretty well, but for whatever reason, it's one of like the Smartless episodes or something. But
yeah.
he kind of shows like it's like early on there was one, and then like he just no one would see him for 5 years, and then after that it was like
Mm,
something a little bit later on. And then he had another one, and he spoke about them so kind of like honestly that I didn't feel
hmm
like it was like this performative thing, like, oh, I thought my career's over. He was like, no, I legitimately thought this was the end, and that felt really good to hear because it made me realize that even if I have everything I want, which right now is the ideal would be, I make my entire living off of acting. I don't have to do anything else but think about whatever role I'm about to get, and then after that, think about the next role, and then I get paid for it, and that services my
mm,
entire life. That would be incredible for me, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have parts of my career where, a show or a movie is not going to tank, and I'm going to wonder, and then I might not get calls for 6 months, and then I might be like, well,
yeah.
shit, this money's starting to run out. I might have to go back to, like I'm going to have this the rest of my career, so it's better that I get fortified with it now, and
Yeah.
fortified with understanding how to deal with it than being surprised by it later on in life, which I think happens to a lot of actors, and that's why they all implode. I think you just
hmm
have to develop a good, healthy relationship with your version of success, and then you can navigate anything that comes your way. Because we're all going to have failures. We're going to have financial failures. We're going to have creative failures. And
Right.
it's just a
It's
given.
managing your expectations, I suppose, because y- if you are going to be in this for the rest of your life and you're committed to doing that, then what is this year? If you're having a tough year, it's like, what, who cares? Like next year I'm in this until I'm dead. So like what, like why am I so, I guess speaking for myself right now, like why am I so urgent in my need to like have it all figured out? Like just keep moving slowly at the pace at which you're moving and stay with it, and eventually like you'll be somewhere else. Maybe
Yeah.
you won't be exactly where you think, but like if you really want to get to that place, like figure out how to navigate it differently, like take a different approach and kind of, like redirect yourself into a different lane, maybe. I think I had this revelation a few years ago where I was like kind of looking at this metaphoric mountain and climbing up it. And I was like, the summit was like, the acting career. It was like, man, like I have to reach that like peak fame, high level acting place. And I need to get there, and I got to keep climbing to get there. And I think on my climb up that mountain, I got far enough up to take a second to like look around me, and I was actually able to see out into like the world and see that I was not like that I was actually on a mountain range, and that there was many mountains around me to go and like
Yeah.
explore as well, and that it wasn't just this like singular thing that was just like this one thing that I could do. And this is what got me interested in like, okay, going and making movies, going and producing, going and writing, going and like starting podcasts, just doing different things creatively. The crazy and hard part about all of that is that you have to go all the way back down to climb all the way back up again. So, but that's okay.
Well, and
And it's just like,
the thing that you set up for yourself too is acting is hard enough. What it sounds like,
yeah,
what you said just then, is like you're like, God, I had this thing of acting as like my goal and like the summit. And I looked around, there's all these other things. He's like, well, now because directing and writing is in its own. You can have a whole podcast with a director talking to other directors, or writers talking to other actors, or writers talking to other
mm-hmm,
writers about how fucking difficult it is for them to get their scripts. So now you've, in some ways, you've compounded it, and not only do you have this thing about being this top actor or working actor, whatever it is in your mind that says that's a success, but now you're like on top of that. Now there's film and writing and producing,
right,
and so now
yeah,
everything is 10 times harder because those are all incredibly difficult career paths to navigate just on their own. Even if you gave up acting and you're like, I'm going to be a producer now, you still
for
face
sure,
the same uphill battle, or a director.
dude.
And now you're saying, I want to be an actor, writer, director, producer. It's a
It's
mania, my
insane. It's insane.
it's
It's so silly, really, when I think about it, because you always want the fast like gratification. You want to like get in, make sense of something, and feel validated and get something out of it and be like, oh, perfect. Like this for me was my acting career. When I first started, I booked the first like 3 jobs that I went out for. Never had auditioned in my life, had
oh wow.
no concept of what acting was, and it worked right away. And so it gave me this impression that I'm the shit. Like like the stars have aligned, and I'm meant for this. How could I have not seen this? Like, how could the
What
world
a
not have seen
disservice!
this?
What a disservice the universe gave you
Dude,
there, right?
oh my God, for sure, dude. But I didn't know that at then, but it totally, dude, it fucked me up royally.
When
Um,
I moved to the city in 2003, and I think it was 2004, late 2004, 2005, that I had 6 callbacks for Superbad, like that,
oh my God, for the Jonah Hill part.
like to the point where they had me read for all of the role. Like by the 6th callback, I mean, I was with Greg Matola, the director, and everything, and just improvising back and forth. And at that point, I don't know which one they even had. But then, again, you look back at it, and like Jonah Hill and Michael Cera had more credits than me, but also 2 curly-headed guys. Are we gonna have another it comes to
Mhm.
that. It just, but no, irregardless of whatever the real reason was, I mean, I thought it was easy too. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh, it's a couple years and in the city, and I get like a call back for this big movie, and then I spent 10 years in obscurity, like complete
Yeah,
obscurity before I got my first Law and Order, and then from there you kind of start chipping away. But yeah, it's that early stuff can. Well, it also really helps define you too. Like it gives you like, oh, this is where you could be. You could be here.
hmm
Look how close you
hmm
are. Look, you're talented. Okay, but then you can either turn into bitterness and like spend your next 10 years going fucking super bad, or you can say,
yeah,
well, this is I know I'm supposed to be there, and it's very
right,
difficult, and I'm gonna just keep working at trying to get back there or something.
right. And I think on one hand, that experience initially was it was a godsend because I don't believe that I would have continued acting had it been as hard as it has become
Yeah.
right away. If I jumped in and it was like, no, 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 absolutely not, I would have been like, well, fuck, this sucks, dude. I'm not good at this. Like, I'm out. Just like I've done it so many other things. Um, but because I had that success right away, and like people thought I was cool all of a sudden. I was like part of a community. I was part of like a union that honestly I didn't even know existed. All of a sudden I was like hanging out in cooler spaces. I had like an extra comma in my check account balance. I was like, fucking dude, I'm the shit. It was so amazing, and so it kept me going. And yeah, it was a big blessing and a curse, because it didn't set me up for managing my expectations well. And it has taken me, it's continuing to take me time to kind of unpack a lot of that stuff, and throw out a lot of my old kind of expectations of what I am deserving of in this business, or just as a person in general. um, it felt like a lot of undeserved praise and a lot of undeserved credibility. And,
What do you mean by undeserved, though?
I don't know, man. I have this whole kind of narrative about myself, because when I was younger, I like utilized my folks' divorce as like this way to generate friendships, because I had two houses. I was kind of like Steve Stifler from American Pie,
Uh huh.
right? Like I had the parties. People were always coming to my house. People were bringing beers and weed, and girls were coming, and they all liked me. And I realized really young, maybe like, 15, 16, that people like me because of my circumstances, because I'm able to give them something here. They don't like me because of who I am. And that might be wrong or right. I don't know. I can't speak for every single person that I knew in high school, but that was what I felt. That was my
Mm-hmm.
reflection of that experience. And so it felt like this undeserved praise that I was receiving. And I think to add a layer to all of that, when I was like 17, I was like, you know what? I'm going to change this all up. I'm going to become a character of myself, so that when people do come over, inherently, they're going to get to experience this like guy who's wild and crazy and fun. And that was when I started like implementing drinking and being like a fucking maniac my whole life. And so they were like, oh, when we go to see Julian, it's like we know we're getting a show. And those were probably like the first days of where like acting really started to take shape for me in a subconscious kind of way. And putting on this mask to kind of be
Mm.
liked. And so when I got into acting actually professionally, my first instinct was like, oh, of course, like, because I've been popular and this is just an extension of my own popularity. Like, this is, of course, what is meant to happen for me, because this is how it happens for me. And then when I sat with it for long enough, I was like, oh no, this is just that same thing. Like, this is that undeserved. And I don't know like really where it comes from. I think it's just my own insecurities, but feeling like I didn't really earn this, because I didn't go to school. I didn't learn. I just showed up to an audition and I took the room. Literally, my first audition I ever had was with Matthew Lillard. Do you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Actor from Scream,
Oh yeah.
Shaggy and the Scooby Doo's. And he like picked on me in the audition. And this is my first time I'd ever been in a room in my entire life. I just assumed like celebrities that you grew up watching like would be in the room with you at the same time when you auditioned. And he was directing this film, and he got up. It's like a punk rock film where I'm like, playing guitar, singing and stuff. And then I get in a fight with the lead singer. So he's reading opposite me, and he kind of starts like going off book and fighting me and like kind of saying stuff that's not on the page. I'm getting real like confused by it. I don't know what's going on. He finally comes up and shoves me. I put my guitar down and I'm like, yo, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, I get that you're like some fucking celebrity, but you don't just get to come in here and fucking pick on like actors when they come in here, dude. Like, get the fuck off me. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. He keeps pushing me. I'm like, get the fuck off of me, dude. And I like pushed him back. I was like, this is fucking bullshit. And I put the guitar down and I like took it out and I started walking out, and he starts clapping. He's like, that's it. And I was like, what? This is so fucked. Like, what do you mean that's it? And so, like, those are things that like I haven't seen that kind of an experience since then. And I can't expect that that's ever going to be a similar experience that I'll have. But it
Yeah.
was like, I didn't I didn't do that because I was like, this is how I've been trained to be. This is what I know will work. It just like happened that way
Yeah.
and it worked out. And then I was like, I'm the man. But then immediately after it all ended, I was like, this is all undeserved and I'm a fucking loser. And
So,
navigating that for the last 10 years has been, the whole thing.
so I'm assuming you got that role.
I got that role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the first thing I ever got in a room for. The
Yeah.
first thing I had ever auditioned for. And then it was followed by like 3 other things. And these were like, pretty big movies and stuff that I was all of a sudden a part in. Part of it seems like it was the right place, the right time. I've had a real hard time being like, oh, you really earned that. I mean, it happened, so it was what it was.
And
But in retrospect, it's been tough.
I think that story. Um, and thank you for sharing all that. That's pretty. I mean, you're very self aware. If there's anything, man, that's very good. How self aware you are about like your time in high school and that like kind of image you were portraying. It's interesting you say you didn't really study it because I think that is one of like if someone's asking like for a prescription for how to navigate this industry as if you're young and you're coming into it. I think that training is incredibly important, right? Like you don't have to be a trained actor to be good or to kind of get the job, but what a trained instrument, as stupid as that sounds for a person, will be able to navigate audition stress situations like that maybe a little better, or just the anything that might come along, a shitty director or a shitty co-star, whatever it is that's gonna kind of throw a normal person who's just like I'm up here feeling my feelings, guys. A trained actor, hopefully, is trained well enough to know know where to kind of like parse that stuff out so it doesn't really affect them emotionally too much in a bad way. Does that make any sense?
Totally.
Just having a
For sure,
foundation
man.
for navigating that kind of bullshit. Um,
Yeah.
doesn't mean that
Yeah.
it makes it any. Oh no, I guess that is what it means. It means it makes it a little easier to swallow. Um,
Yeah, but it also like I don't know, what's ironic is that I took those experiences and I ran with them and I moved to New York and I became like a student of acting
yeah,
and I couldn't have become more self-conscious of myself as a
really.
person. It was insane. It was like immediately as like this is how you act. And that can be like a testament to the school that I went to. I don't want to just talk shit on that, but like there were some cool teachers and stuff, but ultimately I was like but I think the thing that's working for me is that I'm not bringing technique in. I'm not bringing some like study in with me. I'm not bringing some like idea of what I think acting is. I'm literally just coming in being like me
Yeah,
and without any preconceived notion of like how to do this at all. Just like here's the lines and well, all right, I guess I'll try this. I had no expectation of booking anything. I didn't give a fuck. I was just pumped to be like, I didn't even know like the magnitude of what an audition was at that time. I
yeah,
assumed like, I can get this and that would be fucking wild to like be actually on a movie. Like, last time, like the only time I've ever been on a movie is when I was doing it with my brothers when we were like kids, making childhood films and stuff like that. So this would be insane. Uh, and then it worked. And, I just look back on my time going to school and having that had like hindered my instincts. Everything that I brought to the table in the beginning, which was just like this young, free human who was just like stepping into a space, was totally like boxed up, packaged, and like manufactured into this whole new like technical concept of what like good acting was.
hmm
And I've been really trying to figure out how to get rid of that for the better part of a decade. Um,
Huh.
I actually went to LA because a casting director of a film that I had previously booked in Seattle in that period of time in the beginning had me come out and test for this film she was putting up. And I auditioned for her. This is like a year into into my studies at New York. And she, at the end, like pulled me aside and said, you know, I can tell that you're like a student of acting now. And I was like, oh, thanks. She was like, it's not a compliment. I was like, oh, fuck. She was like, yeah, like you've literally, like you're totally different. You've lost like all of that good zhuzh that you had. And she was like, and I love you, and I'll like continue to like, you know, advocate for you, but like you got to work on that, man, because like I'm seeing you work now, and it's really weird. So
But isn't that what you were just saying that you were trying to lose? Is to lose the untrained kind of like just fly by the seat of your pants thing, or are you saying because
I'm
what
trying
sounds like
to
she's saying is that was a part of your charm. That was
no,
a part.
I'm trying to lose all the stuff that I learned, like all of these
Oh,
things
right,
that I've learned along the way of like how to act.
right.
I'm just like, this isn't serving me anymore. Like, you know, it's just, it's impossible. And it's also impossible to like quantify what works. And maybe you have a better opinion of this, but like when I look at stuff that I have, when I'm like, what has worked for me and what hasn't worked? Like when I have booked jobs, is there any through line of something that is like a common denominator of like why this happened so that I can pull it out and be like, great, I can use that again or try to attempt to cultivate that again. But it's like a total crapshoot. I have no idea. You know, it's like, yes, being instinctual, being free, being whatever, like is always helpful. But ultimately, like sometimes I've had the worst things I've ever done audition. Like when we audition in rooms, like I've made some real mistakes in the
Yeah,
room and booked the role. And it's just
yeah.
like, well, now this is changing everything. Like, what am
Same
I
here.
supposed to take
Well,
from
so what
that?
does that tell you then? That tells you that it has nothing to do with what your thoughts are about your own
Right.
process or whatever. I mean, it's important to have a care for your process and want to make sure you're doing something to its best ability. But it's kind of like, think of it this way: like, you know, when you if you do a play or something, and someone comes and they're like, "That was one of the best things I've ever seen," and you
Mm.
go, "I felt terrible tonight. That feels like the worst performance I've ever given." Who's right in that scenario, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think personally that the person that thought it was
they
incredible
are.
is right. I mean, it really it's out of your hands. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you might have gone and thought you did something really bad in that audition, but maybe that for whatever reason, the casting director, the writer, whoever's in the room that saw it was like, no, no, that's exactly what we need. And I think
Hmm.
you just have to accept that, and then the reason that should throw everything into like, well, what the fuck? I don't know what to think about anything. Is that we're never really hitting. We're never. It's whenever most of the time when we're feeling, yes, I'm fucking right on. I'm really firing on all cylinders. We're not. That's just like the ego thing talking to us. And so, if you're gonna approach this with any kind of seriousness as an art form, and I think you learn from so many different artists in different respects, painting, writing, music, whatever, is that you just kind of have to abandon yourself to your own process and put out something
Hmm.
that you feel halfway proud about at least, and then whatever you get back, you get back, you know, and there's nothing wrong with saying, well, okay, I think I missed the mark personally, and you know, for myself, but you know, it gave something to someone else, so then you navigate it from there. But it's not this like absolute like I did great in this or I did terrible. There's always like some kind of
Hmm.
Venn diagram.
Totally.
Makes sense.
Totally, man. I think like, you know, again, kind of one of the interests in starting this show was coming from this notion that like they say whoever they is, say that you sometimes you have to like actually be delusional enough to think that you can even do this to begin with, right?
Uh
And
huh.
like to get started, to get going. And I think that I suffer from that delusion continuously as I move through it because I'm like, am I delusional when I'm, let's say there's like a 18-month drought, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. I haven't done anything. And it's just like, well, I guess I was right. Like I am delusional, and I can't I can't do this anymore. Like I'm not there. Nobody's calling me. Nobody cares about me anymore. I'm out. Like I'm literally just delusional to think that I like make sense in this business. And then something happens.
Hmm.
Boom, you book something and you're like, oh, no longer am I delusional. And it's just like what is going on here? Like,
Yeah,
why
that's
does
a really
that
unhealthy way of
serve
looking at
as,
it.
it's
Yeah.
so unhealthy. Letting that serve as like as a level of self-worth is
Validation. And yeah.
terrible. And you don't seem to do that. And how? You don't seem to think like any part of you is delusional about any of this stuff. You really seem to be like headstrong about your whole approach and just like healthy and all of that. And I'm just curious, like,
I,
where that comes from.
I just look at it like I look at a time in my life before you know, for I booked like High Fidelity, right? Like the time in my life before that, I had never seen anything like, a leading role, 10 episodes, this, that, and the other. And I knew where I was at in my life, and I was in a really bad place and going through a divorce and all these things. And I had no clue that that was even going to happen. It was it was just an audition like any other audition. Then it was a callback, just
Mm-hmm.
like any other callback. And then like, okay, all right. And then it's a fly out to LA, and here's, the screen test. And even after that, I was like, well, I could probably not get this as well. And then you book it. And then you're like, okay, well, that's my new reality. And then COVID hits, and then the show doesn't get a second season, and then you're back to bartending. Like I recognize that there's an entropy to life. Obviously, in nature, all systems are constantly breaking down, and I think that there's an entropy to uh, people's careers. There's an entropy to everything, and so when it comes to thinking about this, without trying to sound too heady, is that things are always going to build up and break down and build up and break down, and that's the nature of things. We need that to happen for the soil to be replenished. And so I think if I chose anything other than how I think about it now, I'm just so very aware because I've met so many bitter actors and so many people that have like just kind of used their rejections and failures and disappointments as like this like leverage to themselves to be like, see, I'm a fucking shitty person. See, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
terrible actor. See, I'm never gonna make it like this guy and that guy. And I just know what that looks like, and it's so ugly to me, and it makes my stomach hurt thinking about it. And so some of it,
Do you know what it looks like because you have experienced it yourself, or just because you've seen it? Have you ever experienced it yourself?
oh God, yeah. I mean, look, I'm not immune to having like dark feelings of why am I not there or this, that, and the other. I've just never ever that I can remember gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give up. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could
Mm-hmm.
move home, I could bum around, I could spend a lot less money than I do here.
Right.
Travel the world. There's so many things I really want to do, but I have an ethic because I just know that this is what I'm really good at. This is what I want to do with my life. Like it thrills me every time I'm on a set or when I'm working in a way that makes me really happy. It's it's better than anything. I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm good at it. I I feel it, and it's what I want to do. So that's what keeps me going because I know it's like winning the lottery. But unlike the lottery, I'm less delusional because like I put it this way, like when you've worked as long as I have, or as certain as you have now too, as you're getting there, it would make less sense if you didn't make a career as an actor. You know what I mean? Like with
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
people that with all of like the connections that you have, with all the energy that you're putting out there, it would make less sense if you didn't make it, like at all, right? So
Yeah,
meaning,
well, more reason to be hard on yourself when it doesn't work out, though, right?
well,
Because like
but
it
it
should
might
make
not
more
work out in
sense.
in that moment. Yeah, like that one thing might not work out. But what I'm
Yeah,
talking about is like as an overall thing, like because yeah, like if
sure.
I gave up now, if I said, you know what, I haven't booked a thing in a while, it's been a drought and this, that, and the other. Just statistically, it would. I just in a way to bring it back to gambling is kind of like my mother. I think she still plays lotto, and she's been playing certain numbers her whole life. the exact same numbers. And she's like, well, now at this point, if I don't play those numbers and they come in, she's like, I mean, I'm gonna feel like an idiot. And in some ways, it's like, I think maybe that's my mentality around it. Like, I can't give up. It's what I know I'm good at, and
Hmm.
I know what that bitterness looked like. To answer your question, yes, because I've seen it. I've
Yeah.
seen it in people, and I think it makes them really ugly, and it really
Yeah.
it hurts. It hurts them as an actor. Like they walk into a room already expecting to be rejected, so they come in with this bad energy, and they're just like ah. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's what I know how to do best, and so I'm gonna keep working at it
Yeah.
without the prejudice of my own opinion of myself to get in the
Yeah,
way.
it's awesome, man. A casting director once said to me that, and he was encouraging me to kind of like stay around and keep going. And he was like, this is a business of attrition. So you're going to, if you keep going, other people are going to drop out, and then eventually you'll be like ahead of that world, and they'll be like, oh my god, Julian's still here,
Oh yeah,
Dave's still here, like those guys. Oh shit, okay, cool, yeah, hell yeah, call them back, you
yeah,
know. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. It's just like we're gonna keep doing this, and it will like eventually make more sense to be in this game. I think any any of the people that we admire in this business that are doing the work that we want to, that we feel like we could be, getting chances at doing as well, uh, aren't strangers to this experience. Aren't
no,
strangers to these same things. And I'm sure maybe even have like a complete different experience with this aspect of like when work's not happening, what do they do? Because for me it feels like every time the bar gets set, I have a hard time kind of like, it's like a checkpoint in a video game, right? It's like you hit the checkpoint, and then
yeah,
sometimes in video games, like when you die, you get to start back at the checkpoint. But like for me, it's like if I set a bar up here, it's like if I go below that bar, it's like unacceptable. So every time I do something big and better, sometimes every time I level up, it's like it hurts me to fall behind. And I'm really trying to
yeah,
figure out ways to like not have to feel that way, because I
yeah,
am always going to fall behind, especially when like something happens. It's not like you just stay there. Like things
no.
happen, life happens. And so I'm trying to navigate that, whereby like I'm not just like, okay, I climbed up to that next step. Now like I'll never go below it again.
Well, but it's kind of like your mountain metaphor, but I think it's even more simple. Like I made a film about Austin Pendleton, who's a mentor of mine, and who would
Nice.
be a perfect person to talk to about this kind of stuff. But when he was
Sweet.
talking about it, he's like, a career is not a ladder, because everyone thinks like it's this ladder, and it hardly ever is that way. Just someone like does this and that leads to that, and that leads to this and that leads to that. He's like it never happens that way, and if it does, it all falls apart very easily. Whereas a career is more like you're here, and then you're a little bit further down, and then you're right back up, and then you're over to the left a little bit.
Mm,
And he's like, and that's the way a career usually is. And then he qualifies it by saying anyone that thinks they know what they're doing in this business is full of shit, because this business is too chaotic for any rule to make any sense. There's no rule to how you get
yeah.
there. It's way too chaotic. So, but I think it's not necessarily a rule, but a thing to live by is just accepting that there's going to be chaotic moments, and learning to think of like what you're talking about is like, oh, instead of it going back to zero, it's never going back to zero, because because you've already learned what you just learned. So it can't be zero. That would mean you have to erase all of the things that just happened to you, and that won't ever happen. So if it helps mentally when you think about it that way, if you think, oh, I got here and now I've had to go back to zero, that's impossible, because you've now learned something new. You've either learned something
Right.
good or bad about yourself, but whatever, there's no more zero. That's gone now. So now you're just on a
Yeah.
different thing, and then you've learned from that, and
What
that's going to make you a stronger actor. It's going to make you a stronger person.
right. Whether you know it or not, it's kind of in you. You
Oh, well, you
have
don't
that.
know it. Yeah, that's most of the time you
You're
don't know it,
right.
and you have to be
Right.
really, really smart to know it, because that's one of the harder things in life is to know ourselves. It sounds like the simplest thing, but I think it's one of the most difficult things is to really know what's going on with you, and for that to happen, you have to really check in with yourself a lot. But that might mean you see a lot of the bad shit you don't want to see. but it also means you see the good stuff too.
Totally, man. I mean, I feel like, the more you know, sometimes the scarier it can get. And, sometimes it sometimes knowing more about like how, like, it's more helpful to just not know sometimes as well. Like, you don't know when you're in it sometimes. Like, you're in a space. Like, we might be right now in like a humongous growth spurt that we are completely unaware of because we're actually just in it, and it feels painful and it feels like, oh God, this sucks. But 3 years from now, we might look back and be like, oh my God, dude, that was the most valuable
Yeah,
experience of my life, that
for
period.
sure, for
And
sure.
so, like, to even be conscious of that while you're in it might ruin the reality, in that, like, you're not supposed to know. Part of it is not
Well,
knowing, maybe.
and that's one way of looking at it. I mean, but I think that it would help if you were conscious, thinking that like, oh, this is actually a big growth
Mhm.
spurt for me. I don't think it
Yeah,
necessarily has to be a surprise 3 years later after you spent 3 years just like fucking killing yourself and like kind
yeah,
of feeling so terrible.
yeah,
I think if you could be self aware enough now, like you look back on your high school years and talking about it, and you have such like a an understanding of that. If you had that same understanding then that might have really helped. Like that, you didn't, and that's in the past now, so it doesn't matter. But just imagine if you had the same level of self awareness about that time that you have now. You might have still acted the exact same way, but you would have been like, this is probably why I'm doing this. Oh, why am I? And you might have been able to kind of like untangle some things easier at the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
totally.
so I think about that when in terms of like if now we're going through a fresh, bout of insecurity or worry about our career. You know, I'm really hoping to get some like kind of clarity on it within myself and like, okay, why am I really feeling bad? Is it just because I didn't get that job, or is it because of other
Mhm.
things, or
Yeah,
is it something that in me personally that I need to navigate before I think about anything to do career wise? Because it's
yeah.
all about you.
I feel like for me, at least, it's typically just like unpacking some unresolved traumas with myself that I'm like, oh, that's really what it's about. It's not about not booking this, bless you. It's not about like the thing that's happening, the subject of this thing. It is like, it's more deep rooted than that. And I think that's why it's so important in like a creative's life to get to know themselves and be introspective and to like really spend time like in their own discomfort.
Yeah,
Whether that means like going to therapy, or whether that means like journaling, or whether that means just like putting yourself in stressful situations to see how you handle them. Like, what do you do? How do you move through this world? Like, and I think that's the beauty of, being an artist, is that, and the fucking hardship is that you're really uh dialed in on have like being required to having to like look deeper into yourself than a person who isn't doing this.
I always tell people that are not actors, or I've said this a few times, that acting is like applied psychology, because everything you do in a therapist office or a psychologist office, when you're talking about like, why do you do what you do, and like, oh, why did I feel that way, or oh, is this how I'm acting because of my mother's treatment of me, or whatever it might be. That's what you do as an actor when you go into those. If you're doing it right, and if you have a good enough teacher, they're trying to help you access everything that character is going through. You're going to be putting it through the lens of your own trauma, and that's why it's such a powerful thing, because not everybody gets that direct line to their trauma. And
Hmm.
if you're an artist, then okay, you can paint it out, or if you're a writer, you can write it out. But as an actor, you get to act it out. And if
Yeah,
everyone that's going through therapeutic anything, just therapy or whatever, got a chance to act out their feelings, I mean, that'd be pretty powerful shit, right? So that's what we get to do, and we get paid for it.
yeah,
We get to act out the better parts of our thing. If it's a role where we're just like this big egotistical asshole, then we get to act out that side of ourselves that we never get to, that
mm,
we suppressed for so many
mm,
years. Or if it's a very,
hmm,
sad and depressed and diminutive person, then we get to kind of live in that for a little bit and see how that makes us feel. Um,
yeah. You're right, man. I guess if you're like, and if you're really honest with your work, then it's very cathartic. because it is a part of you that you're able to kind of release rather than just like being a character who's regurgitating some lines and doing some stuff. It's like, no, this is, I'm tapping into this side of who I am and
Yeah,
allowing that to come out. And it can
you're
be
all you're
scary
all
too.
you're all you have. I mean, like that's you're only coming from what you have, and it's going to come out consciously or subconsciously, but it's going to be you. It's going to
Yeah.
be a version of something that you've been wanting to deal with for a long time, no matter what the situation is, because you're all you have
Yeah.
to work with.
Yeah. You, you said you have Austin Pendleton as your mentor. Austin Pendleton's like a pretty, uh, iconic actor.
Yeah.
Uh, that guy's pretty. He's been in the game for
Oh yeah.
60 years or something now.
Totally.
How important is it to you to have a mentor, and how helpful has that been in your journey?
Well, it's just been really helpful because I'm seeing myself become him. Like, I'm watching
Cool.
myself kind of now, and not because I'm trying to. Let me put it to you this way: like he had a very similar thing to maybe you, where he kind of out of college got Oh Dad Poor Dad on Broadway, and then like kind of was catapulted to like the success in like the mid '60s. And then in all just like the '70s and '80s, he just went downhill and had to do a bunch of character roles and then just do a ton of theater. But because of those horrible years, like for him, like years of just complete desolation, he kind of fortified himself to be, what many people consider is one of the best New York theater actors and directors, certainly. And so getting to see that at such a young age, but well before I had any of like the, hardships or maybe bitterness that I could have had, seeing someone like him kind of be so eloquent in talking about the struggles of trying to do this as a craft was invaluable. I mean, as opposed
Hmm.
to, I mean, you could get people are so impressionable, especially actors when they come to the city. So anybody that you put your faith into to kind of help you through this jungle is gonna affect you for better or worse. And I was really grateful that my mentorship came from someone who was, you know, incredibly honest about the hardships of it, and but yet walked around with such a like a there was like this humor to him. There was like this he never gave into that bitterness. He just always had this like kind of elven quality where he's just kind of walking around and like just giving little bits of wisdom to people and then shuffling away. And there was just something about the way that he navigated his life that I envied so much and still look up to. And so that is what I've kind of modeled the way I want to do it. I just want to keep
Yeah.
working um, the way he has. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, man. I really kind of crave mentorship in my life.
do you have a
But you
mentor?
like, no, not really. I have like mini mentors kind of all around, and they all kind of serve different purposes, but nobody that's just kind of like that thing for me. I try to, this is an attempt to get get mentorship from people, like I'm getting mentorship from you right now. Uh, and I crave it. I don't have like one specific person, and I don't know like if it's one of those things where you're just like, I got to make a call and like hire a mentor. It's like it's got to kind of come to you. I feel like, um, so I always envy people that like really have that relationship going on, and I imagine I could have it if I sought it out a little more. But I don't know. Maybe it's what I want. It's like I'm afraid of it or something at the same time. I don't know. But I do love the idea of somebody, especially like Austin, man, who's got so much life experience under his belt, and not just in acting, but it just in life.
Well,
Um,
he's still teaching classes. We could just take a class from him.
I might do that with you, man. That'd be cool. You're doing classes with him
No,
like
I'm not.
ongoing
I'm
still.
like I need to get back into it. So as we're talking, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why the hell am I not taking a class from Austin again?
Are they like online classes or are they like
Mhm.
in
They're
person?
back. I mean, the last I checked, he's still teaching at HP Studios, which is where I went for many years. I'd have to check
Dude,
into that, but I mean,
let's do I'm game, my friend. I'm just looking for like this is again, I'll keep saying it, but like this whole project that we're doing here is like is a is my pursuit to try to like figure out like what new avenues I can continue to try and like dive down and go exploring through. And every single person has their own unique perspective and point of view on everything about all of this stuff. And it's so cool and it's so like relatable and it's so honest. And I'm just so kind of like impressed with the world, like the community in which I am a part of. And I
yeah,
forget sometimes, I forget that I have these these incredible people all around me at all times. I like look through my phone sometimes when I'm feeling lonely, and I'm just like, who am I supposed to hang out with right now? And I'm just like, I don't have anybody. And then I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I start a podcast, and I'm like, ding 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 ding. Look at all these cool people I can talk to. And it's just like, dude, those are all of these people. Like we've met each other what 4 months ago. I
yeah,
fucking feel like I'm a brother, dude. Like you're
yeah.
you're such quality human, and
Well, so are
you
you,
just
man. I
you have
felt connected to you the moment I
you,
met you. Yeah.
the moment, dude. Like right away, dude.
Oh,
It
well,
was.
you're
Go
also
ahead.
you're also. I was going to bring this up earlier. You're also quite talented, right? I saw that pretty spot on. And then you watch your stuff and you're talented. What do you
Thanks, man.
say? Have you ever had a friend that's an actor that's just not? They're just not there, right? Like, and how do you prescribe the same? Like, it's easy to talk to you about like not giving up when you're like, I know how good you are. Like, I just do, and
Mm,
you're really good. And
totally.
what do you say to those friends of yours that they're trying so hard, but like, just not there? It's not their thing. And I mean objectively. I mean, I'm not talking like
Yeah, yeah,
little fine
totally.
points, but if you're just like, wow, everyone knows it. What do you do
Mm.
in
Yeah, it's
situations like
interesting,
that?
man. It's interesting because I have some friends like that.
Who are they?
Who yeah, yeah. Let me drop some names.
Yeah,
Curtis
yeah.
and
Lonnie
um
Donegan.
uh yeah. Um it's difficult for me because who am I to like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
say
No, no,
where
of
they
course.
can or should be, like, but I think that's where like the conception of this whole idea came from, this precipice of delusion, because I was looking at some of these friends. I have this friend, uh, who's been in this, like been attempting to act professionally for 25 years and just can't seem to get a grasp of it. Can't seem to like find representation. Can't seem to like get auditions. Continues to like go and he, dude, is like one of the hardest working motherfuckers I've ever met. He makes movies. He makes projects. He does things. He is constantly like trying to like reinvent his career. But it's like it's not good, and it's like good for you, man. Because what is the metric of good and bad? Like, who gets to decide, right? Like, obviously, there is a metric for what is good and bad. As we see, it's hard, like, as an actor and as a creator in general, you are kind of are as good as what you have done, right?
Yeah,
Like, not necessarily, but to the industry, by industry standards, you are what you have done. That's why whenever you tell somebody like, "Oh, I'm an actor," their follow up question is like, "Well, what have I seen you in?" Because if you don't have anything, they're like, I guess you're not really an actor then. So then you're stuck in this position of being like, "Well, I put up into this," and they're like, "Oh, cool, wow, you really are that." It's just bullshit. And so I have a hard time trying to like prescribe anything to this guy because it's like I know he wants to be farther along, and I wonder sometimes like is this something that you have or don't have? Because you have the work ethic. You have like the thing that you need, like that most of these people don't have. This is why when I see somebody who's uber talented, who's just fucking wasting it away and being a fucking slacker and being a dipshit, I'm like, it's honestly insulting
Yeah.
to somebody like myself, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm working so hard to try and like get this thing off the ground, and you just have this fucking inherent incredible talent that you're just fucking pissing into the streets. Like, it's crazy. And so it's tough, man. It's tough to like try and like offer some kind of guidance to this guy, because it's just like, dude, like, you're doing it. Like, you're doing it regardless. You're making stuff, you're trying stuff, but like, I think the thing that got into my head when I was going to acting school was like, this is how you act. This is how you can act better. Like, and I just didn't subscribe to that at all. It like really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so for me to tell this guy, I think what I have said, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, is like, he almost feels like he may be like on the spectrum to a certain degree. And I don't think he's aware of that. And it's like, if you could just tap into like, if you could approach your acting from like a place of your own truth. He's so funny, he's so fucking like weird and quirky, and like, but he's always trying to be like this badass, like hardcore, like bad guy. And it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, you don't like, if you just went into the way that you are as soon as that camera turns off, and all of your neuroses and all of the fucking like weirdness about who you are, and you put that out into the world, that would be, I think you're just faking it though. I think you're like, I
Yeah.
think you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to like play these roles that you're seeing all these other people play. Like, play who you already are, man, and like tap into your own strengths. But I
Which
don't
is
think
the
he
hardest thing
sees
for
that.
some people to do, is to be who they really are. Back to what I was saying earlier.
Totally, man. And again, who am I to say that? Because I'm trying to figure that all out too. I thought for 10 years that I was just a fucking douchebag because I'm just playing douchebags all day long. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just a douchebag. And every time I tell people that, they're just like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, fucking thanks, you asshole. And then I even like, bring up like, well, yeah, I'm just embracing my aesthetic. And like, that gets a laugh as well. And it's just like, this is just adding to my own narrative of like, what am I doing? Like, why am I
Yeah.
saying these things? Um, but I really do admire the friend, because I'm like, dude, you work harder than anybody I know. You just don't seem to like have that thing. And I am amazed because you keep pushing through. And that to me feels and seems delusional, because it's just like, you don't have any like, there's no wins, like nothing, that you put all this effort, you go broke trying to like make these movies, and then you're just like, somehow he like gets back up and he's like, let's try it again. I'm like,
That's
dude,
amazing. I mean, that's
it's
that's enviable.
amazing.
It's enviable.
It is, but it's also not. It's also just like, that sounds fucked up, dude. But like, who am I? Like, whatever. To each their
Yeah.
own. He keeps getting back up and doing it, and I'm like, I'm very impressed with just like anybody who sticks with this, despite almost more so by the people who like struggle to find work. Um, the people who don't have as big of careers as you or anybody I, like him. I'm interested in that. Like,
Yeah.
why? How do you stay in this? Like, what do you do? What keeps you going? Um, and I'm fascinated by it, man. Like, forever, because I'd be lying if I said I haven't felt just like him before, where it's just like, none of this stuff is working.
Yeah.
Nothing that I'm doing is working, but like, what is working? Like, it's all my own perception of like, what do you want? Like, what do you need to work? If you're doing it, half of my joy, I've realized, comes from just like the pursuit of the creation itself. So like, when I'm in something creative, that's when I'm experiencing the biggest highs of my life. It doesn't have any association to like the back end of like watching friends watch me on TV, or like seeing people like experience that, or getting a message from like some high school friend being like, dude, I just saw you on Blacklist, fucking killer, man, you're fucking killing it, all while I'm like behind a bar fucking pouring fucking green tea shots for fucking college kids. And I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what the fuck, dude, it's really in like the pursuit of the thing. Like, while I am in it, that is
Yeah.
when I'm the highest. Like, even like right now, while I am engaged in this conversation, I am filled with joy. And it's because it feels purpose driven. It feels like this is where I'm whole. Um, it's just like when it's over, then what? And I want to continue to like figure out ways to hold on to um, this satisfaction that I experience from doing something while I'm not doing something at the same
Yeah.
time. And that's been really hard for me.
Yeah. That's heavy because that means you have to be just as engaged in yourself than
Yeah.
like whoever else you're talking to or the task at hand. And
Yeah.
ourself is very scary
It
sometimes.
is very scary, man. But we keep going and we keep figuring it out. Like I don't know, man. We're fucking weirdos, man. We're just interesting. We're just interested in everything that's going on around us. And I admire everybody that does this thing, man. I admire you hugely, man. I think
I admire
just
you.
from the little amounts that we have spent time together, I have just kind of like, despite any of our like careers, I have just like, latched on and been like, dude, this is a homie right here. Like, this is somebody that I don't even, I mean, we may have spoke about our careers and stuff, but it wasn't at all the subject of our friendship developing. Um, it was just good people, man. And
Yeah.
you're quality folk, man. And the more that I like learn about your actual career, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, cool. Oh shit. Like, damn, dude, David's fucking killing it. And then, it's like, it's incredible, man. So I love discovering that. I love like learning about who you are as a person and then getting excited that like, oh shit, your career fucking kicks ass. In the context of like whatever it
Yeah.
kicks ass because it kicks ass. You could think that, you don't have to think that, or you whatever, but it does. And I I don't ever want to feel like envy over like, oh man, Dave's fucking getting those roles and he's doing these things. Like, I just want to be totally proud and totally excited for all of
Hey,
my peers who are doing this work.
look, speaking on kind of what we've been talking about, the other night at a bar watching the Oscars, I got to see Dave Vine win an Academy Award. And this is someone that I, 2 years, or I guess 3 years at that point, previously worked on a TV show with. And she had done she had a little bit of a career, of course, but like, I'm now watching my co-star win, an Academy
Mm,
Award. I mean, I think that's
so
another
cool.
reason why I don't, why I feel so like confident in moving forward. It's like I can see it right there. Like
Mm,
it's not so abstract to me anymore. Like I was at a screen test with her when she was kind of a nobody,
mm,
essentially a nobody, and we're both just like sitting there going like, oh, well, we'll see where this goes. And then now I'm
yeah.
seeing her looking as beautiful as possible, winning an Academy Award, and it's like
Mm,
that's the kind of thing that I'm not so wrapped up in my own neuroses that I can't look at that and go, oh, well, there it is. I'm right.
yeah.
I was good enough to work with her, and now she's gonna. Yeah, not that that's an arbiter of any kind of talent, but I have my own
Sure.
feelings about the Oscars and awards in general. But just the fact of it, coming off where she came from and where she is at now, kind of, it's pretty irrefutable. I mean, it would be very silly
Yeah.
of me to look at that any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful, man. I admire you, man. I admire your headspace and the way that you navigate this professional life of yours and just the life in general. I think you're a wonderful dude, and I'm so thankful that you were able to share some of your insight and your time, just your
Yeah, sure.
thoughts
When,
and
when
your
should we should start the
curiosity.
podcast soon, right?
Oh yeah, I got to push record. Um, whoops.
I thought this was all the preamble. But, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. Shit. That'd be the best. I had a podcast with my friend like a couple years ago during the pandemic, and we'd like start talking beforehand, and I'd just like start getting into conversations. He'd be like, dude, fucking save it for the pod. Save it for the fucking pod. Because I'd always just be like talking. He'd be like, dude, we're gonna fucking run out of
Save
things to
it for
talk
the
about.
pod.
Save it for the pod, baby. This is this is the fucking pod, man. This is the POD, the precipice of delusion, man. And Dave Holmes, dude, you're such a ledge. I'm so grateful that you're a friend of mine now, man, and that we get to
Likewise,
hang
buddy.
and have some good times, good hangs, and I'm excited to see your career just blossom, man. I'm excited to see. I could see you at the Oscars, man. I could see it happening. You can your show. We could promote stuff now, right? Fucking why
Yeah.
not, baby?
Yeah.
Your show, The Penguin. When is that coming out?
Sometime in the fall, they just actually dropped another teaser trailer today on
Oh,
YouTube, and
cool,
said the fall on it. So now I know for sure that's when it's going to be coming out.
nice. Not that this show has anything to do with promoting like people's like successes. In fact, it's on the contrary. But everybody, I hope, who listens to this will go and check out The Penguin on what? Where is it going to be?
HBO Max.
HBO, dude. That's one of the good ones, baby. Nice,
Yeah.
man. Do you get a fucking gruesome kill, or should we save it? Should we wait? We don't want to give
Yeah,
anything away.
I do some things. I mean, look, I'm in 5 episodes of the 8. I get to work with Colin Farrell. That's all that matters. I mean, like, it's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of characters in it, so there's not a lot of, I'm not like this overwhelming presence, but I'm there, so I'm just happy about that.
Was he still hot even in his fucking fat suit?
Because of his personality, yes. But I mean,
Yeah.
he was the makeup was so fucking good. In real life,
Cool.
you're just like, I don't see the seams, I don't see anything like it was so good. It's kind of
That's
unbelievable.
amazing. Yeah. What they can do these days is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Dave, you're the king, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time. Let's hang out sometime soon. How about
Would
it?
love that, buddy.
And let's do a class with Austin Pendleton, man. I truly would be really down to do something like that.
I'm gonna look into it and see what's going on. I'll text you.
Cool. Holler at me, man. Love you. Thanks for doing this.
You got it.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. All right, Dave Holmes, ladies and gentlemen. What'd you think? Pretty nice, right? Yeah, I feel like there's so much humility in that guy's process and kind of how he moves through the world. It's really cool. You know, I have a bartending gig myself that I go to, on the weekends, and it supports me and helps me continue to supplement all of these creative things that I do. And a lot of times I feel really ashamed of myself that I have to have that thing because like I should be above that. And he really laid it out in a really special way for me. It's very humbling, to go from being on a giant set and working with your heroes to going to a crowded bar later that evening and having people like pull on you and ask for a fucking lemon drop and shit. It's an interesting space to navigate, and I think he does a really good job of doing that. And so, the takeaway is continue to lead with humility all the time, and just have gratitude for where you're at. We're healthy, we're good, we're doing well. Like we have a dream to be actors, and we're doing it. We have done it. We are there. No matter what part of your journey you're at, like you're in it. If you're just getting started and you're taking classes and you haven't booked anything yet, like you're an actor. You get to say that. You are doing the work. If you're having to have like 17 different jobs to support yourself because you're living in one of these industry towns and you haven't gotten an agent yet and you haven't felt like you're making that much progress, but you're doing the work, that's it. You're doing the work. You are a creative person. You are an artist. You are allowed to be that thing, even if you don't know how to articulate it, or even if somebody asks you like, hey, oh, you're an actor. What have I seen you in? Just because you haven't been in something somebody's seen you in doesn't mean you're not that thing. You don't get to say that to a lawyer or a doctor, like, oh, well, who have you represented? Or, well, who have you done surgery on that I would know? Like, you don't ask those questions. So these are these weird qualifiers that actors have to put up with that aren't real. And so recognize that you are in the right space. I am proud of you. Be proud of yourself. I'm talking to myself here as well because, I get down on myself a lot, and I don't think I'm like where I need to be. And I don't think I'm as far ahead as I was supposed to be when I thought about being at this age. I'm 37, almost 38. It's just like, Julian, like, calm down, dude. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Everything is working out the way it's supposed to work out, and you are going in the right direction. So give yourself a little grace. Thank you, Dave Holmes, for that beautiful articulation of your journey and your story. I'm forever grateful to be your friend. I hope you guys got something out of that episode. It really touched me and made me feel better about where I'm at. And so stay tuned for The Penguin, the new Batman series coming out. I think they're saying in like fall. It keeps getting pushed back, I think, but it's going to be a really exciting series, and Dave's going to crush it, and you're going to be so amazed by him. And if you want something else to go see him in, you can go to Hulu and watch High Fidelity, the series, where he is one of the main characters in the show. He's wonderful. He's an epic actor. Yeah, you're welcome. Guys, stick around for 1 second. Please, if you haven't already and you enjoyed this show, follow us. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Give us a like. Write us a review. Do all the things that you do for the podcasts that will help support us and help grow this thing out a little bigger. I have also recently started a Patreon page at patreon.com/theprecipiceofdelusion. We are trying to get subscribers to come on board for as little as $1 a month. There are tiers: $1, $5, $25, $50, $100, $500 even. You can become an executive producer of the show. You can have, creative rights coming in, and you can start suggesting things. I want to be able to shout out your name at the end of every episode for just $1. There's all sorts of perks and benefits. I'm going to be putting up exclusive content on there that will all be behind the paywall. So with $1 a month, you will be added to the list of people who will get to see all that stuff and be a part of that community with me. And I will be forever grateful. I will also be working towards building out a new studio whereby I can bring guests in and we can start having conversations in person. I feel like that will really add to the dynamic of these episodes and create a much better atmosphere for these conversations. So if you want to jump on board and contribute, I would be forever grateful. I love you guys so much. All of your support means the world to me. And I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for so much of your support and kind words and positive reinforcement towards letting me know that this is touching you and moving you in a positive direction. Guys, I love you, and I thank you so much for being here. We are going to move to just doing Mondays from here on out. I got enough kind of like backlogged and pushed out in the last 3 weeks, and we're just going to be doing Mondays from here on out. But I'm probably going to start implementing some special things on Thursdays as well. Maybe some like personal scoop things, whatever. I don't know yet. We'll see. I might take this whole podcast to the streets and start talking to people. I don't know, but good things are coming. New things are coming. Again, if you want to help support me so that I don't have to go and work a bartending shift until 5 o'clock in the morning and kill myself and get sick again, go to the Patreon page and drop a couple bucks for me and we can make magic. Love you guys. Until Monday, I will see you then. Mwah.
Now that's what I'm talking about.